welcome. Tonight, the President and CEO of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, announces plans to expand the Dangote Petroleum Refinery's capacity from 650,000 barrels per day to 1.4 million barrels per day. Supreme Court Justice, the Attorney General of the Federation, and other key stakeholders call for increased funding to strengthen Nigeria's justice sector operations. Peace launches its historic direct flight from Abuja to Heathrow and Gatwick airports, making a major milestone for Nigeria's aviation industry and local carriers. And the United States reaches a framework agreement with China to avoid imposing an additional 100% tariff on Chinese imports. We begin tonight with what might be a major transformation in Nigeria's energy sector and industrial landscape, as the Dangote Petroleum Refinery has announced an ambitious expansion plan for its current 650,000 barrels per day capacity to 1.4 million barrels per day. Speaking at a press conference today, the refinery chairman, Aliko Dangote, says the expansion will make the refinery the largest in the world, surpassing the Jamnagar refinery in India. Well, according to him, over 85% of the workforce will be Nigerian, and the expansion will create 65,000 jobs during construction. It will attract major investments in crude sourcing and financing, and of course further strengthen Nigeria's energy security.
Just a few years ago, he made a shocking intention when he told Nigerians and indeed the world that he will be building the world's largest single-train refinery in Lagos. Today, right at the outskirts of town, columns, complex instrumentations, boilers, control room, and many other infrastructure now stand well in place, functioning and delivering refined petroleum products. This is the abridged story of what we have today at the Dangote refinery, plus a petrochemical plant, all in one complex, set to be 7 times the size of Victoria Island.
The key announcement today is that we're expanding the Dangote refinery. We're announcing it officially. We're expanding the Dangote refinery from our 650,000 barrels per day to 1.4 million barrels per day.
Just when it did appear a perfect time to take a breather, the man behind this massive infrastructure shakes himself up and says it's time to get back to more work. This time it will be more than twice.
This will make it the largest refinery in the world ever. That is surpassing the Jamnagar Reliance refinery in India. This expansion reflects our confidence in Nigeria's future, our belief in Africa's potential, and our commitment to building energy independence for our continent and the world.
He's quick to heap the inspiration of his expansion drive on President Tinubu's energy policies.
Of course, it is the dream of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, for Nigeria to emerge as one of the major suppliers of petroleum products in Africa and part of the world. And with his strong backing through previous stated policies, we are now taking this challenge to make this happen.
The refinery's polypropylene production capacity will also be increased by 900,000 metric tons annually, boosting the supply of raw materials. The refinery facility will produce Euro 6 standards fuel, meeting the highest global environmental benchmark. And according to him, over 85% of the workforce will be Nigerians. The expansion is expected to create 65,000 jobs during construction, attract major investment in crude sourcing and financing, and further strengthen Nigeria's energy security. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
The Taraba state government says it has invested heavily on peace and security of the state, and it will not tolerate any breach of peace by any group in an attempt to mine its mineral resources illegally or create an atmosphere of chaos. Speaking in Jalingo at the 2-day training for artisan and small-scale miners, the governor, who was represented by the member of Taraba State House of Assembly from Bamga constituency, insists that no investor or company will be allowed to use an unregistered miner to operate in the state without meeting its new criteria. The new measures follow the ban on all illegal mining activities in the state in June 2023 as a result of the high rate of insecurity, soil degradation, and leakages in internally generated revenue.
This step we've taken is not by any means saying that companies can come into Taraba and start mining. No. The first step is we are going with experts to go and assess the depth and the type of goals we have. And number two is we'll profile the companies here in Taraba, and we'll tell you the revenue you pay for Taraba state government and the advantages. You must tell us what the community tend to gain from the gold exploration, and which will include water, roads, hospital, schools. Providing this basic amenity is number one priority to His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Taraba State. So, and if you have equipment that you need to use for the mineral exploration, you must, I repeat, you must train somebody from Taraba that is known to us to use that equipment. Even if it means taking them abroad, you take them, go train them how to use that equipment. We are not going to accept anybody coming into Taraba State because the government has spent so much in the area of security, so much. And there is peace in Taraba now. We don't want anything that will jeopardize this peace.
Air Peace Limited has launched its inaugural flight from Abuja to Heathrow and Gatwick airports in London with 1 million naira for economy class and $3,000 for the business class. Speaking at a ceremony to mark the inaugural flight from the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, the chairman, Air Peace Limited, Barrister Allen Onyema, attributed the milestone to the support from the federal government. He, however, bemoans low patronage from some government agencies who are not doing enough to support the efforts of private investors. Our correspondent, Kubi Aboluwade, reports.
It's a day of joy and a sense of fulfillment for the management and staff of Air Peace Limited as the airline launches its inaugural flight from Abuja to Heathrow and Gatwick airports in London.
We must begin.
The host, chairman of Air Peace Limited, Mr. Allen Onyema, is joined by his wife, Mrs. Alice Onyema, and children, as well as top government officials and other invited guests.
Today, what we are celebrating is absolute patriotism. We could have said because other airlines are taking 15 million for business class, let us take 10 million. But we're not doing that. We must begin to see beyond our noses and support private investment. This president supports private investment. His ministers are doing so. So let other government agencies not use the powers, the little powers they have now to think they can frustrate any ongoing business in the private sector.
Air Peace is the first Nigerian carrier to offer direct services from Abuja to London's two major international airports. Invited guests, including the representative of the Vice President, Mr. Ibrahim Adejia, expressed delight over the milestone.
You are one of the most patriotic Nigerians in the business sector today, and I congratulate you for this fantastic achievement of breaking the Heathrow deadlock.
From $11,000 for business class, you are now going to pay $3,000. I call on every Nigerian traveling to London and any part of the world to patronize Air Peace.
Through this achievement, Air Peace has restored Nigeria's full presence in one of the world's busiest air corridors, affirming that when given the right policy environment, Nigerian enterprises can compete and triumph on the global stage.
Cutting the ribbon and the cake is the next agenda. The flight crew, led by its chairman, proceed for boarding. These aircraft, Boeing 777-200 with registration number 5NCEG, has a total of 245 passengers on board. This is indeed a breakthrough for Nigeria's aviation industry and, of course, the country as a whole. A big statement has been made here today, which says there is a new sheriff in town. And, of course, expectations are high, particularly in the area of affordable flight tickets. Hopefully, these expectations are not dashed. From the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, Kumbi Aboluwade, Channels Television News.
We head to the courts where Justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Helen Ogunmiju, is calling for improved funding to improve criminal justice administration in Nigeria. She made the call at a public lecture to mark the 10th anniversary of the signing of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. She also called for continuous capacity building for operators of the Act to ensure efficiency.
Legal luminaries gathered to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the signing of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, which was enacted to reform and improve the criminal justice system in Nigeria. The public lecture themed the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, the past, the present, and the future, is organized by the Center for Social Legal Studies to provide an opportunity to x-ray the impact of the Act 10 years later. The Attorney General of the Federation, who was represented by the Director, Administration of Criminal Justice Reform, Federal Ministry of Justice, believes the future of criminal justice reform must be built on effective implementation of the relevant laws and not mere intentions.
As the leading stakeholder in the administration of criminal justice in Nigeria, we have continued to play our role. We developed the plea bargaining guidelines for federal prosecutors 2023, signed up by the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation for clear procedures for application of plea agreements. We did carry out capacity building workshops for judges and other stakeholders, but I think that we need to do more of that. We need to do more of that.
Although stakeholders believe the Act is not perfect, it has positively impacted on the criminal prosecution system in the country.
The issue of long detentions, non-custodial sentencing, that is where the education needs to be concentrated. By the time you progress to become a high court judge and all that, most of these things are part of you. But when you start from that level of magisterial level, you don't know all these highfalutin, idealistic ideas of what an ideal criminal justice system should be.
After the event, some salient recommendations contained in the presentations by all the speakers were highlighted.
ACJA has been in existence for 10 years, but the work is actually just starting. Our criminal justice system, as it is now, discriminates against the poor. You see, most people cannot access justice in our criminal justice system. Not because the laws are not there, not because the ACJA does not make provision for them, not because the Constitution does not provide for them, but the cost of accessing justice is too high.
The lecture concludes with participants agreeing that the next phase of the Act must integrate human rights and social justice.
We turn our attention to security matters now as troops engaged in sustained operations against armed bandits in Kebbi State have neutralized at least 80 bandits attempting to infiltrate the state from the Zamfara border. According to the Special Advisor to the Governor on Communication and Strategy, Abdullahi Idris Zuru, the operation was based on credible intelligence, which prompted the strategic deployment of military troops around the Makurdi village. He explains that the troops successfully intercepted and engaged the heavily armed bandits attempting to cross from Niger State late on Friday and Saturday, leading to the victory. In the encounter, about 80 bandits were killed, while several motorcycles and 2 abducted persons were recovered. Mr. Zuru says that the success recorded in Gaski local government area of the state followed the directive of Governor Nasir Idris for enhanced troop presence along Kebbi borders with Sokoto, Zamfara, and Niger states to curb criminal infiltration. And in part 2, after the break, former Defense Chief General Lucky Rabo expresses confidence in President Tinubu's new service chiefs calls them seasoned, patriotic professionals. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. The President and CEO of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, announces plans to expand the Dangote Petroleum Refinery's capacity from 650,000 barrels per day to 1.4 million barrels per day. Supreme Court Justice, the Attorney General of the Federation, and other key stakeholders call for increased funding to strengthen Nigeria's justice sector. Air Peace launches its historic direct flight from Abuja to Heathrow and Gatwick airports, marking a major milestone for Nigeria's aviation industry and local carriers. And the United States reaches a framework agreement with China to avoid imposing an additional 100% tariff on Chinese imports. Chief of Defense Staff, retired General Lucky Rabo, has expressed strong confidence in the newly appointed service chiefs by President Bola Tinubu, describing them as seasoned professionals capable of protecting Nigeria's unity and territorial integrity. Speaking today in Channels Television's headquarters, General Rabo emphasized the need for deeper collaboration and synergy among the armed forces to ensure a more cohesive and effective defense structure. He's asked the new military leaders to build on existing frameworks, close operational gaps, and sustain trust across all branches of the military. The retired general also commended the immediate past service chiefs for their dedication, resilience, and the service to national security, noting that their efforts laid the foundation for continued stability.
They've done wonderfully well. They've played their part. It must be understood that, if you become Chief of Defense Staff or a service chief, you also at some point become a former Chief of Defense Staff. But for the new ones, wonderful officers, these are incredible officers who know their owners. I believe that they will take to a greater high level where their predecessors have just stopped. I think they will do well. For them, I think that, especially for the CDS, because he's been in the system for the past, I'm talking about the leadership within the system for the past, almost a year. There'll be little no adjustment to me, rather, for him to be able to upscale the trajectory of, operational activities. Processes need to be sustained, especially when the strategy is on the winning streak. It has to be sustained. And I think that that also credit goes to the Commander-in-Chief for finding, the person of the Chief of Army Staff to be elevated to the office of the Chief of Defense Staff. So I believe that with his knowledge, word of experience that he's had, that change and continuity, the challenges that we have had with change and continuity will be minimal, with him, given that he's already seized with the issues. All he needs to do is to come to grips with them and then run with it. So I can only advise that they should sustain, the spirit that they've always had, and to also look at the administration of the members of the armed forces to, have a good connection with the political strategic for them to be able to close up whatever gap in understanding the problems or the challenges of the armed forces, for that gap to be closed up, because they actually need political support to be able to upscale the not just operational wins, but equally administrative wins of members of the armed forces. I do wish them well, and I believe that they're going to do well.
Well, that change in the top military hierarchy came as a surprise to many. But one person who thanked the outgoing Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, is President Bola Tinubu. And of course, he also thanked other service chiefs for their patriotic service and dedicated leadership. The question now on the lips of many Nigerians is, what is the implication of these changes of Nigeria's evolving security matrix? So tonight, Babajide Ogunsanwo, who's the founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's data analyst, chief data analyst, is here to share more facts and vital insight on the evolving defense architecture in Nigeria. Thank you very much, Babajide, for joining us on the News at 10.
Good evening, Anne.
Now, on the new service chiefs, the press release from the president said that the move, in his words, is to strengthen the national security architecture in Nigeria. But are there hard facts when we look at these things that point to what could have influenced the president's decision?
First, is there lots of information that I have that the president is holding on to that 10-letter word called classified. So we can't comment on things that are classified. However, we can talk about the facts. And on these, there are about 3 facts that I probably want to talk about. The first is, you know, Anne, in the United States and in the United Kingdom, they have a statute that gives the Chief of Defense Staff, the highest ranked military officer in the United States right now, General Dan Clare, and the highest ranked military officer in the United Kingdom, Air Vice Marshal Richard Knighton. Their positions are tenured. In simple terms, once they get into office, they know the amount of days they'll be spending before they leave. In Nigeria, we don't have that system. Once you're in office as the Chief of Defense Staff, you are most likely going to be removed, and a lot of information will start flying around about why you were removed. So the first is because we don't have a tenured system, the president at will can remove you. Now, the second point, Anne, is that in the president's official press release, he never used the word sack. What he used was change. And he even further went to thank the outgoing Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, and the other service chiefs, and 2 words he used: patriotic service and dedicated leadership. So we have to consciously avoid using that derogatory term, sacked, because it affects the psyche of not just the war against terrorism, but it is erroneous to use such terms, especially to men and women that have all their lives served Nigeria. Now, to the third and perhaps interesting fact is, let's take a look at the average tenure spent by Chief of Defense Staff to see if there's anything unusual. The fact we have is the appointment of General Oluyede makes him the 12th Chief of Defense Staff since 1999, since the return to democracy. However, we've had only 3 previous Chief of Defense Staffs and that have exceeded 1,000 days in office. Only 3 out of all the previous 11. So these 3 that have exceeded 1,000 days, we'll classify them as outliers. Now, if you look at the average of the other Chief of Defense Staff, the average is approximately 633 days. So on an average, we see previous Chief of Defense Staff taking out those outliers, spending a little over 600 days. So if you take a look at what is in front of you, looking at the trends, there's really nothing unusual. General Christopher Musa spent 854 days. General Liu Irabo spent 875 days. We see the outlier, General Olonisaki under President Buhari spent over 5 years. So overall, looking at the facts and sticking to the facts, there is nothing significantly unusual that has gone on, apart from things that we cannot comment about, which is classified information.
Well, Babajide, I mean, a lot of people will be asking, does the change in service chiefs mean a change in the security architecture of Nigeria? Does it mean that security and defense strategies will change in the country?
Every time we have a change in service chiefs, we can't keep changing strategies. We can change operational tactics, but I expect that the strategies will remain approximately the same unless it is essential for us to change strategies, especially if we look at the public perception numbers. The numbers overall are positive, with more Nigerians saying that security is improving in their regions, except the Northeast. So if you take a look at the security perception index in the last period, what we see is that when these outgoing service chiefs came in, the national security average was 47%. 47% of Nigerians said security was improving. In other words, majority of Nigerians said security wasn't improving. Now the national average is at 54%. So what we've seen is, since June 2023, when these service chiefs came in, to now, we've seen that the national average has consistently improved. The challenge has been in the Northeast. Remember, in June 2023, when they came in, 57% of families living in the Northeast gave a positive rating. Now that number is slightly down to 56%. So what we expect is, operationally, we'll see a lot more emphasis in the Northeast and in the Northwest. However, what is the challenge facing the incoming Chief of Defense Staff, General Oluyede, It is what ACLED classifies as, if we look at the World Conflict Index, it allows us to clearly see where the challenges lie. And the current challenge is Nigeria is still classified in terms of conflict rating as extreme, classified in the same bracket as Colombia, Sudan, Lebanon, Syria, Mexico. So one of the things that we'll expect the incoming Chief of Defense Staff to do is to do all it takes to change the narrative. Sometimes beyond operational plans, a lot of things have to be done in the media space to change the global narrative that Nigeria is really not in extreme conflict. Yes, we're in conflict, perhaps. There's high conflict, but what we see right now is a wrong positioning of Nigeria as extreme conflict.
All right, Babajide, before we go, I mean, when you look at the recent poll, Nigerians are saying that they feel safer now. So what will be the goal of these service chiefs going forward?
So the service chiefs have to also be data-driven. If we take a look at the last reports and if we take a look at the information from the Global Terrorism Index, even though we are awaiting the 2025 reports, as at 2024, that information, if you take a look at it, show that Nigeria was at its all-time lowest since the Boko Haram incidents began in 2002. So if you look at the trend in terms of number of terrorist attacks, what the Global Terrorism Database, the report from the Global Terrorism Database was that 2024 total number of terrorist attacks last year, less than 100. We are waiting for the results this year. It is still unclear if this year's results will be better than last year. We can't speculate on it. But one of the goals for the new chiefs will be to ensure that terrorism continues on this declining trend. But perhaps there are three things that I want to end with first. Now, the first is, what we expect is the new chiefs will have a firmer handshake with the defense intelligence community, and it seems that, yes, in recent times we've seen a growing relationship, synergy between operations and intelligence. Now, the second thing is we have to become, and we need to become more creative. And you know, we talk about, we always hear about the carrots and the stick. Sometimes, you know, I have here, sometimes the carrots might even be your stick. Yeah. So we need to see a lot more creativity in how we see a lot of our operations. Yeah, you use the carrot or the stick, but sometimes we can use the carrot as a stick. So we need more creativity. But perhaps finally, yes, we've seen outgoing chiefs. We see new chiefs coming in. We shouldn't forget the lessons of the past. And one of the lessons the former Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Gwabi Musa, dropped was that, and if you take a look at some of the remarks he made earlier this year, one major one that strikes out is that how can we win if we do not collaborate? So what we expect is the new service chiefs would increase their level of collaboration, Army, Air Force, Navy, and also enhance collaboration with the Defense Intelligence Agency led by General Parker.
Thank you very much. Good place to end this discussion. Thank you, Babajide Ogunso, founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's Chief Data Analyst, for your contribution.
And don't forget, sometimes the carrots can be used as a stick.
Yes. And we go to Delta State now. It's a gruesome and sad discovery in the state. Police have exhumed the bodies of a 22-year-old motorcycle rider and his 20-year-old passenger. Authorities are saying the victims were allegedly murdered by two self-proclaimed native doctors who then hid their remains in a pit.
Tension has enveloped the Owa Alidima community in Ika-Northeast local government area of Delta State after a 20-year-old man, Liberty Friday, mysteriously went missing. Reports say he disappeared after visiting a local shrine in search of spiritual assistance. He was last seen with a commercial motorcyclist identified as Isioma, who had conveyed him to the location. Following complaints from the victims' families, detectives from the Agbo Area Command began a thorough investigation that led to a local shrine. There, police made a horrifying discovery. They decomposed the bodies of two missing young men exhumed from a soakaway pit.
They don't decay finish. How many of them?
Speaking to journalists, the spokesperson for the Delta State Police Command, Bright Edafe, confirmed the arrest of 2 suspects, both native doctors and half-brothers, aged 20 and 26, now in custody for their alleged involvement in the gruesome killings.
Upon leaving the house on that fateful day, the family did not find them. They kept on looking for them until on the 14th of October, where they reported via a petition to the area commander, Agbo. During the course of investigation, the girlfriend to one of the victims, Liberty Friday, now noted that Liberty Friday was communicating with a particular native doctor from this community that we have, and that's the shrine of the native doctor. When the native doctor was initially contacted, he denied knowledge of seeing this guy. However, he said he was going to do some spiritual incantation to know where the boy is, and they paid him about 100 and something thousand naira to do that. Upon reporting the case to us, we now went on intelligence-led investigation and discovered that indeed this native doctor and the victim, Liberty Friday, have been in constant communication. That was what aroused our suspicion, and the native doctor was eventually arrested.
The police spokesperson revealed that the horrific scene at the shrine, marked by bloodstains and ritual items, suggested the murders may be linked to organ harvesting or ritual practices.
It is very pathetic. It's very sad. This is the shrine, and we've gone around the shrine and we've seen traces of blood at different rooms and at different points, which makes it look very, very suspicious that this death may not just be a case of kidnapping, it might be a case of suspected ritual.
Meanwhile, the wife of the slain motorcycle rider, a mother of 5, and the family of Liberty Friday are calling for justice over the brutal killings.
I want justice. I want justice. Now that we are putting those criminals, so I want justice. Justice is all I want.
As investigations progress, the Delta State Police Commanders assured the public that everyone involved in the heinous crime will be brought to justice and made to face the full weight of the law.
Still ahead on the news at 10, the United States reached a framework agreement with China to avoid imposing an additional 100% tariff on Chinese imports. That's on the foreign scene. Please join us again. Welcome back. In Imo State, stakeholders from Imo North Senatorial District, also known as Okigwe Zone, are calling for renewed peace, unity and sustainable developments across the area. The call was made during a Peace and Unity Summit held in Obowo local government area, where political, traditional and religious leaders commended Governor Hope Uzodinma for his developmental strides. Our correspondent, Eitope Kuteyi, reports.
It was a convergence of eminent sons and daughters of Okigwe Zone, drawn from across the 6 local government areas, who gathered in Obowo to chart a new course for peace and progress. Leading the host of dignitaries was the chairman of Okigwe Council of Traditional Rulers, His Royal Highness Eze Iheanacho Ndukwe, former Governor Ikedio Akim, former INEC Chairman Professor Maurice Iwu, and the Secretary to the State Government, Chief Cosmos Iwu. Also present were religious leaders, academics, and representatives of government and community groups, all lending their voices to the call for unity.
Our gathering is a testament to the harmony that already exists among our people and our collective resolve to preserve and build upon it for the prosperity of generations to come. This is indeed the time for Okigwe Zone to shine even brighter as one people with one voice and one destiny.
Speakers at the summit emphasized that peace and unity remain the bedrock of progress urging residents to look beyond political or sectional divides and strengthen cooperation for the region's stability.
Through open dialogue and collaboration, we will address pressing issues, identify common goals, and forge pathways to achieve them. Let us take this moment to reaffirm our dedication to Okigwe Senatorial District, growth and well-being. Together, we can create a brighter future where every citizen thrives and contributes to our shared prosperity.
Let us protect this unity we have established today. Let us nurture it and ensure that our zone remains a beacon of peace and progress. In the words of Kebbi, nothing past God, and nothing can surpass the power of peace and unity. Let us strive to build a prosperous Okigwe where our children can thrive and our communities can flourish. Together, we can achieve greatness.
They also pledged closer collaboration with security agencies to sustain peace and protect lives and property, while appealing for greater federal presence in the zone.
Umulolo, Amora, and Owerenta, and other rural communities live in terror of night, attacks from armed gangs, and so on. Insecurity closes our markets too early. Our people remain resilient, resourceful, innovative, hard-working, entrepreneurial, devotedly religious. It is time for us to make a bold declaration as a zone, political declaration, because we hear from the current governor's speeches that he wants somebody who will continue with his legacy. And he said he is doing Mbakwe's legacy. Mbakwe is the son of Okigwe. So which other zone will continue the legacy better than Okigwe zone?
Beyond the call for unity, the leaders passed a vote of confidence on Governor Hope Uzodinma, commending his ongoing projects in Okigwe zone and across the state.
Because of his leadership, because of the governance he has provided, because of his extension of friendship and brotherly love for Okigwe zone. I so move. Thank you.
Summit concluded with a 9-point resolution emphasizing peace, collaboration, and shared responsibility as key pillars for the region's future. Channels Television News.
The National Association of Microfinance Banks has commemorated 20 years of microfinance banking in Nigeria with a 3-day national conference held in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. At the opening ceremony, the national president of the association, Alhaji Abubakar Ahmad, highlighted the remarkable evolution of the sector over the past 2 decades. He says that microfinance institutions have become key drivers of financial inclusion, empowering small businesses and supporting millions at the grassroots. The conference brought together industry leaders, regulators and stakeholders to chart new strategies for deepening access to finance and strengthening the sector's sustainability.
Members of the National Association of Microfinance Banks have converged on Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital, for the association's 20th anniversary conference. The milestone event celebrates 2 decades of the formal evolution of Nigeria's microfinance banking sector, drawing policymakers, regulators, financial experts, and over 400 participants from across the country. At the heart of discussions is the vital role microfinance institutions continue to play in advancing financial inclusion and empowering millions of low-income Nigerians through improved access to credit and savings.
Nigerian microfinance banks cater for predominantly micro and small and medium-sized enterprises, MSMEs, as well as low-income individuals. Loan sizes typically ranges from as low as 10,000 to as much as 100 million, allowing and encompassing a broader segment of the population who often were excluded from traditional commercial banking to access formal financial and credit services.
The Central Bank of Nigeria has reaffirmed its commitment to continued collaboration with the National Association of Microfinance Banks to strengthen the sector and enhance financial inclusion nationwide.
We at the Central Bank of Nigeria recognizes the microfinance sector as a vital partner in achieving our shared goal of inclusive growth and poverty reduction in our country. We therefore remain committed to providing an enabling environment in the area of regulations and supervision framework that ensures the stability, sustainability, and integrity of microfinance institutions in Nigeria.
The Akwa Ibom State government commends the microfinance sector for its unwavering support to small businesses and its vital role in driving grassroots economic growth across the state.
Microfinance banking, bridging the past, empowering and sustainable future for the economic development, aligns with our vision of empowering SMEs through grants, which to date we have spent over 15 billion naira, comprising business, agriculture, market grants, various youth empowerment schemes, and training of over 2,000 youths by Igbo.
The three-day conference featured expert panel discussions on regulatory reforms, the presentation of the prestigious Microfinance Pillar Awards, and vibrant cultural performances where NAMB executives joined Akwa Ibom troops to celebrate 2 decades of resilience and impact.
The lush fairways of the Calabar Golf Club burst with excitement as golfers, business leaders and enthusiasts converge for the 2025 First Bank Cross River State Golf Tournament. Held at the Army Junction course along the Murtala Mohammed Highway, the event drew top figures from the public and private sectors, blending competition. More than just a sporting spectacle, the tournament served as a platform to strengthen corporate partnerships, boost tourism, and drive economic collaboration across Cross River State.
It's a perfect fusion of sport, style, and strategy as the 2025 First Bank Cross River State Golf Tournament tees off in Calabar.
Which is going to make you become our next Tiger Woods.
Now one of the most anticipated events on the state's sporting calendar, the tournament promotes sportsmanship, business synergy, and tourism development, while strengthening Cross River's reputation as a hub for leisure and investment. Over the years, the championship has drawn business leaders, government officials, and golf enthusiasts from across the nation, reinforcing First Bank's enduring commitment to blending recreation with relationship building.
You can see how many business people around here, people already playing. So because it's excitement, golf itself is about life, it's about business, it's about health. And so, the impacts are many. This is a tournament that we truly support, and this is a tournament that will impart and continue to impart the social fabric of Cross River State.
In line with the bank's brand philosophy, that is talking about First Bank, we've associated our brand with sponsorship of sports under the platform of First at Sports. We have very legacy sporting events we have been sponsoring across the country.
For Cross River State, the tournament is more than just a competition. It's a driver of tourism, investment, and economic growth.
Usually people play golf for fun, and at the same time for exercise, and at the same time for connection on the golf course. We are trying to take this a step further to deliberately make it about business, pleasure, entertainment, health, and then business.
The grand event also featured the Speaker of the Cross River State House of Assembly and the Governor, who commended First Bank for using sports to promote unity, development, and youth engagement.
Looking to actually promote this sport. It's a sport that has a lot of attraction. And we had started actually partnering on so many things that's ongoing here. And we believe to upscale it not too long from now.
For First Bank, the 2025 edition is more than a tournament. It's a celebration of connection, commitment, and community, reinforcing the bank's role as a catalyst for partnership and progress in Nigeria.
Let's head to Zamfara State. The House of Assembly has hosted a public hearing on a bill seeking to establish and manage the Zamfara State multi-door courthouse aimed at promoting alternative dispute resolution across the state. The chairman, Zamfara State House Committee on Public Petition, Ridwanu Nagambo, says that the bill will provide citizens with faster and more accessible mechanisms for settling disputes outside the conventional court system, as well as decongest correctional centers.
This public hearing attracted representatives of security agencies, traditional and religious leaders, civil society organizations, women groups, and relevant government ministries and departments, as well as the National Human Rights Commission. The proposed law seeks to provide citizens with a quicker and more affordable opportunity for resolving disputes while helping to decongest correctional centers across the state.
The establishment of the Zamfara State ADR Center will not only decongest courts, but will also bring justice closer to the people, especially those in rural areas who often face challenges in accessing formal legal systems due to distance, cost, or complexity.
Stakeholders used the forum to share recommendations on how the facility can operate, including improving accessibility and ensuring community involvement to enhance grassroots justice.
Magistrate Court of Zamfara State should be District Court of Zamfara State, because when it is civil, it is District Court. When it is criminal, it is Magistrate Court. So all references in this draft bill is on civil matters. So magistrate is supposed to be District Court of Zamfara State, not Magistrate Court.
A very good scenario is the case of 14 years in our court, 14 years in the court in Kauranamoda local government. ADR was used to resolve this case. So basically, just the way His Royal Highness has mentioned, their intervention using ADR is one of the key strategies that has drastically reduced issues around congestion in our prisons and so on.
The State Assembly is promising to continue working closely with partners to enact laws that reflect public interest and promote peace and stability.
Due to congestion of cases in the courts and due to the time consumption in the courts before judgment, that is why we see it very, very much important to establish this type of courts, that is multi-door courthouses, in order to pave ways for justice.
We are very happy to have it. Very good, because the challenges of conventional courts is so unsurmountable, and to the extent that a lot of people cannot go to court again. The expenses, the wahala, and so on and so forth. So we are very glad this time around.
Participants at the session unanimously supported the passage of the bill and resolved that an effective alternative dispute resolution framework is needed to improve timely access to justice and strengthen social harmony in Zamfara State.
Well, earlier on, we told you about the excitement of golfers in Cross River State golf tournament. Well, more excited people at the moment to be Nigeria Premier League's Abia Warriors, as they have now moved second on the table with a 2-0 win over Barao on match day 10. And in Enugu, Rangers were held to a goalless draw by Kwara United, while Kun Khalifat and Bendel Insurance shared the point in a 1-1 draw. Monday Gideon scored twice as Plateau United defeated Enyimba 2-1, and elsewhere, Warri Wolves were 2-0 winners over Bayelsa United, with Wiki Tourist also recording some scoreline against Shooting Stars. Meanwhile, champions Remo Stars are out of the CAF Champions League after losing 7-1 on aggregate to Mamelodi Sundowns of South Africa in the second preliminary round. Having lost the first leg 5-1 in Ikene, the return leg in Pretoria finished 2-0 in favor of the host. It was Nuno Santos and Peter Shalulile's heroics that extended the Sundowns' advantage to earn a spot in the group stage.
The ref would add a lot of time, referee Dick Okello. And it comes and it's 2-0. Peter Shalulile gets another one against the Remo Stars as he did last week. Adds to his tally in CAF club competitions. And it's 2-0 on the day.
And in the English Premier League, Eberechi Eze scored his first goal for Arsenal to secure the 1-0 win against his former club, Crystal Palace. The victory puts the Gunners 4 points clear at the top of the table with 22 points from 9 matches. Meanwhile, Matty Cash's 19-minute goal was all Aston Villa needed to beat Manchester City at Villa Park. The other results, Bournemouth defeated Nottingham Forest 2-0. Tottenham climbed to third with 3-0 win over Everton, while Wolves remained bottom of the table after Burnley edged a 3-2 thriller at the stoppage time. Jude Bellingham's goal helped Real Madrid beat Barcelona 2-1 to win a 10th Clásico and move 5 points clear at the top of La Liga. Kylian Mbappe also had fired Madrid in front, while Fermin Lopez leveled for the visitors at the Santiago Bernabeu before Bellingham netted a second for the host before halftime, which proved decisive. Away from sports now and outside our shores, the United States and China have agreed to work together on a potential trade deal that will be discussed when their respective leaders meet later next week. The U.S. Trade Secretary Scott Bessent told the media that this included a final deal on TikTok's U.S. operations and a deferral on China's tightened rare earth minerals control. He also says that he did not anticipate the 100% tariff on Chinese goods threatened by U.S. President Donald Trump coming into force, while China resumes substantial soybean purchases from the United States. Mr. Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping are due to hold talks on Thursday in South Korea, and both nations are seeking to avoid further escalation in trade war between the world's 2 largest economies. The French media have confirmed that 2 suspects have been arrested over the theft of precious crown jewels from the Louvre Museum in Paris. According to the prosecutor's office, one of them had been taken into custody and is preparing to take a flight from Charles de Gaulle Airport. One of the suspects was preparing to travel to Algeria and the other was going to Mali. The suspects are part of a gang that stole items worth 76 million euros last Sunday using power tools to break into the building in broad daylight. They arrived at 9:30 a.m. local time, shortly after the museum opened to visitors. France's Justice Minister has conceded security protocols failed, leaving the country with a terrible image. And the main news again. The president and CEO of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, has announced plans to expand the Dangote Petroleum Refinery's capacity from 650,000 barrels per day to 1.4 million barrels per day. Supreme Court Justice, the Attorney General of the Federation and other key stakeholders have called for increased funding to strengthen Nigeria's justice sector operations. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Mwawadu. Good night and have a wonderful week ahead.